Welcome, everybody, to another great day of Pro League here live at the Nexon Arena. I am Valdez. With me today is Wolf, and we're going to start off with the Jin Air Green Wings versus MVP. Should be an explosive one.
It should be indeed, Valdez, and I'm expecting MVP to show up today with some really good play. We've seen a lot from them already this round. We've seen a lot from them, of course, in the past, like round 3 last season. They actually had their playoff run where they did insanely well. Here's Jin Air Green Wings with a -2 score currently, having a bit of a tougher time, whereas MVP here just with a 3-2 and a neutral indicator of 0 points.
Yeah, they actually took one penalty, which is really interesting because they're up there at 4th place with the penalty. And a lot of that has to do with beating CJ Antis at one time with DeParture and Younghwa really coming through. Younghwa in the ace match against Hero, and then, of course, DeParture with that crazy win over Hero in that best-of-1. Really cool build then. They're going to have to go up against another really strong team today in the Jin Air Green Wings.
Yep.
And they're not messing around with their lineup today either.
No, they're not. And I feel like they need to take this very seriously, Jin Air, because MVP is no longer an opponent that you could just joke around and say is on Prime's level down there at the bottom, because this round they really are not. They've taken some really impressive wins. Seed took a win recently versus Bomber, I believe it was, that he won that PvT.
Yeah.
Gumiho has been looking more solid in recent times. In fact, a lot of our Korean commentators voted him to do well today.
As did I, actually. Both you and Moonglade voted for the other guy. I even forget who that is. That's going to be an interesting TBT if we get to it.
Yeah, Cure just qualified for Code with some pretty impressive results, so that's part of the reason why I vote for him. But that is going to be an awesome TBT, one of the harder matches to call today. And Jin Air needs a win very badly right now, currently in 5th place in the standings. So I think we're going to be taking a closer look at that in a little bit.
Yeah, every single game, especially today, is extremely important. The 4 teams that are playing today are all like possible playoff teams. If they win like this game and the next week's games, they're definitely in. If they lose one, win one, it's going to be hard. If they lose both, I think they're definitely out, especially because they're going to be losing to teams that are also in the same situation.
Exactly. So the teams that win will, of course, be the advancing ones.
Yeah.
If we have teams go 1-1 a lot, it's entirely possible we see some ties, which is crazy because we haven't really had that in a while.
This has been the closest round in a while, actually. I'm really enjoying this round so far. But taking a look at today's match here between the Jin Air Green Wings and MVP, we're going to start off with Trap versus DeParture. DeParture hitting another Protoss here on Expedition Lost. It should be an interesting one. We'll see if he has an interesting build for that map.
Yeah, well, definitely will. Maru on fire versus the guy who is like he's running around as if he's literally been lit on fire, Marine King right now in a TBT.
That's a good way to set it, Wolf, actually. He's really just running around with his hair on fire right now.
Rogue versus Younghwa should be a good one. Unfortunately, Younghwa not hitting a Protoss like he wanted to. Might have been better to send him out on Deadwing. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, funnily enough, he would have been hitting Cure. You have to think maybe Jin Air was trying to snipe out Younghwa with Cure, but then he gets a TBT on Deadwing, and Cure not looking too good in TBT these days, whereas Gumiho is on fire in that matchup. I feel like I would definitely give the edge still to the Jin Air Green Wings, but the lineup here and the way that the players matched up against each other are not so bad for MVP.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at these standings. Like you were talking about, these 4 teams that are playing today, very, very close to each other. We've got a bunch of 3-2s and 2 3s down there for Jin Air and Samsung. Now, SKT and KT are so far ahead that it's very unlikely they will be dethroned. I suppose it's still possible for KT. SKT still in first place with 0 losses and likely will remain there. And here are our winners' rankings. Just looking at some of the players we might be seeing today. Rogue down there. Maru, of course.
Yeah. Hero yesterday not getting his win, in fact. Him and Byul both losing yesterday, so not able to go up in the stats. Stats himself, speaking of stats, he goes up with 1 win there.
Yeah.
SOS not playing today. We got, who else here? Cure's going to come out there in the 4th match.
Younghwa. We saw another Jin Air Green Wings player earlier. I mean, our MVP player earlier was Lucira. He's not scheduled to play today either.
Yeah, very, very interesting that he doesn't come out, in fact. Maru can share the lead in the winners' rankings with the victory today. Of course, if he gets that win, he'll be tied with Hero up at the top. And Marine King in a 10-game losing streak versus Terran in the Pro League.
This is the Pro League, the only one,
yeah.
Valdez.
There is no other one like it. This is the Pro League.
The Pro League.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at this point in time, Marine King definitely having a really, really awkward Terran versus Terran matchup. We've seen him lose games that he was too greedy, and we've seen him lose games where he goes for crazy like Viking rushes. We've seen pretty much a little bit of everything, but it's always failed one way or another in that matchup.
Kind of the story of Marine King these days. He hits so many Terrans. Even for this season of Pro League, he's 0-7. So that streak of losing to Terrans goes back to last year. He had 3 losses in last year towards the end, and then he had 7 more losses this year against Terrans. So, I mean, this guy is just, he did not want to hit Maru. This is probably the last person on the entire roster to the Jin Air Green Wings that he wanted to hit, and he hits him.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that in mind, I just feel like his spirits are probably not going to be good going today. Let's see if he gets tilted, because he's the type of player who gets affected. His nerves, his mood do get easily affected by, the early parts of the game. Does he get harassed like in the early game with a Reaper or something, or does he accidentally, misrally one of his units? Some little things like that can actually really get into his head. And
also, Maru has a really big history of making people cry, especially guys who are very emotional, I guess you can say. But let's put that on hold. Let's take a look at the round 3 winners ranking. This is actually the first time I've seen this, but it's really interesting to note. Dream, the top 2 are seeded into Kespa Cup. Is that what I just heard?
I believe so. So Dream and Sue currently, but it's not over yet, so we'll have to wait and see as the round ends.
Yeah. Dream and Sue, they are the big reasons why SKT is doing this well. Classic as well, up there, tied for second with 4 wins. He did take 2 losses, but SKT on a roll this round. They're 6-0, and they're looking to try to get that undefeated score this time, and I think they definitely have a chance to do it. A very big one, in fact.
Also interesting was saw Liquid Hero with a 3-0 score. I've never expected to see a score that good from him in recent times, but the guy seems to be doing a little bit better. Those last 2 PBTs were definitely a bit shaky. He was able to take those wins. All right, Moonglade back up to the number 1 where he belongs.
Yeah, he was there yesterday, but he still remains up there. I guess the rest of us didn't really do so well. Me and Moonglade having the same predictions, and I think you as well had the same. Yeah. So the only thing that really changed from yesterday was that Kanata and the MC did a little bit better than we did.
Well, here's Trap, 4-3, 1-0 versus Zerg. He's come back a little bit into power recently. Obviously, he had a bit of a rougher time last season on IM. IM, a team that just struggled in general. And only in recent times have we seen him actually being fielded consistently with Jin Air. The first time we ever saw him fielded was when most of the Jin Air players were away for an event. Yeah. I think it was an IM or a DreamHack. And then he actually became kind of a regular for them. He's played now 7 times.
Yeah, he's just kind of another card that Jin Air has in their pocket. They don't have to use him, but whenever he comes out, he plays very well. So it's great to have that kind of guy in your team. And he's going up against DeParture here, a Zerg player. It's going to be on Expedition Lost, guys, the map. We just saw Zest yesterday wreck y'all by just, sitting back and not attacking, just playing super defensive. I would love to see DeParture come out with a really nicely planned build as he did against Hero. Once again, I think that would be a great idea. It's just not really looking so good for Zergs on this map right now against Protoss.
Definitely not. We did see that actually Monday Caster voted for DeParture, probably based on that win versus Hero alone. But let's take a look at what's going to happen here in game number 1, Jin Air versus MVP.
Down here in the bottom left, in the green, our Protoss player from the Jin Air Green Wings, it is Trap.
Oh, it's Jangu, one of my favorite characters.
She was taken off guard, man. She wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. She was busy tweeting about how much she loves him as a player. To the top right in teal is DeParture.
What is that, Wolf?
That is a character. I don't remember what series that character's from, but I recognize the character. And no, I don't have the Kakao Talk emoticons for that one, but
I thought you would. That's why I was asking you. For you guys who don't know, Wolf is the Kakao emote master. He pretty much has every single one.
I have like
90% or something.
I think I actually literally at this point have 17 or 18 sets of them.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty insane. Everyone is worth $2, right?
Well, some of them are on sale. Like you never see one that's more than 3. I think I've only probably bought 1 or 2 that were $3, but I'm all about the microtransactions, man. I buy that stuff. Why not? It's like it's as cheap as buying a bottle of water from the convenience store, but I can use it for life.
Yeah, it's great, and even games have been bringing that into effect. You know, here's the Storm recently.
I buy too many
spending money
skins.
there. Hearthstone, all the cards over there. The one game that's kind of missing it is, in fact, Starcraft.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about this over the past, I'd say year or so. You just see this probe is diligently checking for that gold base. It's not happening. It is actually going to be a fast speedling build.
This is going to be really interesting. These speedlings are going to come out very, very fast. And if you look at what Trap did, he went for a gateway first. So unless he gets that wall up really, really quickly, he's going to have no cannons to defend. He's going to have a Nexus down pretty early. He should get the scout down here and maybe throw down a bit of an emergency forge.
Let's see what he decides to do. He may just simply opt to try to wall with a cyber core. But this is somewhat of a dangerous position. It's not like a rushed pool. It's not like he's going to have speed anytime soon. In fact, just now starting it at the 3-minute mark here. So he's got some time. Speed's going to take almost 2 in-game minutes of time to finish, 110 seconds on that. And by the time that is done, he should have adequate preparations, but definitely going to want to be cautious and probably check, maybe even send out a sacrificial probe a little bit later to see how much of a commitment to Lings this is going to be. Because knowing DeParture and knowing the fact that most of his wins come from kind of a bit more aggressive, a bit more cheesy play at times, or these fancy timings, that's something more aggressive than just simply safe speedlings to pressure a little bit is what we're going to be seeing here.
Yeah. I think he may have been able to get a bit more damage if it wasn't scouted, but Trap very smartly does get that scout down. And we do see DeParture just making 2 lings to push the probe away, and then going straight back into drones. He's going to take a quick third base off of the back of this. The speed is going to help out a lot with defending this. Actually, he cancels the speed. So, forget what I just said. In fact, he's going to save that 100 gas.
Yeah. And that is pretty sneaky. As you guys could see back at home, well, actually, you guys aren't quite looking at it right now, but, if you were paying attention to that production tab the entire time, you'd see what I'm seeing right now, which is 2 Zealots produced into the mothership core. So those Zealots out really quick just to make sure, just to be safe. He's been very cautious with his probe scout over the past few minutes, just making sure that these lings are chasing him, making sure he's not any other lings he can find, making sure there was actually a 3rd hatchery made, whether it's a gold base or not. Now he's going to send these 2 Zealots across with the mothership core and pressure.
This is really cool. He's going to force DeParture to make a bunch of lings when he doesn't have to. He can go for the recall if he really does want to save those Zealots a little bit later on. But this is just going to be a small little harassing force out a bit of those lings out of DeParture, force him not to make drones. And, these 2 lings are actually going to get in. There will be a Stalker to deal with this momentarily, but they do get in at least.
Yep, good micro on that probe. All right, the Zealots are going to hit on this hatchery for a little while here. Mothership should have enough for a recall. He's forced several lings here. In fact, if you can look, he doesn't quite have enough for a recall. He's very close.
Nice micro here from Trap, but eventually I think this is enough lings to take down the Zealots. It's getting pretty close, though, with that trade. He just barely gets one of the Zealots. The other one survives with 32 health.
You could just recall that Zealot home if things get dicey. Would love to save the energy on it, though. This Overlord should escape, but it's done decent scouting here. But the key at this point is that with all those lings that DeParture made, he's behind in Harvesters at 36 to 34, even with a quick third like that. His early gas that he made was completely useless. Never got any upgrades, just simply canceled the upgrades, so basically just lost early mining time for nothing. And now he's continuing to mine, so he's in a really bad spot. Oh god, is this actually going to assassinate the Queen? I think it will.
Yeah, with that time warp, it's at least going to push the Queen away, and once it gets off that creep, it's going to be forced to turn around and fight, and he will get the Queen.
He's actually losing drones here now as well. This is just the experience of a player like Trap coming in, whereas DeParture seems to be a bit panicked, a bit nervous here. See how many drones go down extra. Oh, he's going to make an extractor to save one, and he can recall. Oh, actually, no, he used that time, so no, he can't.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be pushed away. He should be able to get away just fine, but nice little bit of damage there done by Trap. And off the back of this, we do see him going for the forge in the 3 gates, so he will go for that 3rd base and just play defensive once again. I didn't expect anything different out of Trap, in fact. Just so many Protosses doing it these days, especially on this map. I would love to see him put down the same kind of building placement that Zest did on this map, the 3 gates towards the back door, so that the Zerg can't really abuse that, the ice.
Yeah.
And you just keep 1 sentry over there and some units and maybe a cannon or 2, and there's no way a Zerg can ever get up there.
We're just going to see this defensive Protoss style. It's with no Swarmos. in the meta right now, and obviously even if they were, they're just not what they used to be. With how this matchup is being played, you are just going to want to get Blink and +2. You don't need Colossi earlier. You don't need AoE because the Swarmos are no longer a threat. In the past, it could be a quick Swarmos build where if you try to go for that kind of composition, you kind of get hard countered by the Swarmos. You don't have any AoE. Those free units eventually wear down your gateway units. But in this meta that we're in now, the Blink, the +2, going to give you so much mobility, so much pressure you can put on the map. You're safe against basically anything. And the Zerg really struggles to stop you from getting to that late-game death ball, that late-game Protoss powerhouse.
Yeah. And like we saw in the game with BL and Zest, BL essentially never transitioned. He was just on Roach Hydra for a very long time, and he went for one big attack that totally failed, and he GG'd out pretty early because he had no backup plan. You know, at that time, Zest was almost maxed out with that nearly +3 army, a bunch of Blink Stalkers, a ton of sentries, and it was going to be undefeatable just because BL never really transitioned. And I'm going to be interested to see what DeParture is going to do to respond to this kind of Protoss play today. He is going to go for the burrow and the burrow movements already, as well as the speed. So he's going to make a pretty big commitment to Roaches to start off.
Yeah.
And, I'm just not sure if it's going to be able to find that damage.
This timing isn't quite the same as the one we saw versus Hero. We also saw Life do this recently as well. And I want to say even BL tried it once. There were a lot of Zergs that have found success versus Protoss in Korea with this strategy recently. DeParture the first in televised matches. But it's been scouted. We'll have to wait and see if he can get that Observer out in time. It's not always just about the Observer, though. Immortals are pretty good, pretty actually essential at holding a push like this. This could still work. I mean, this is still a good composition. Blink isn't ready, +2 isn't ready. It's about to be. These units cannot be caught out here, though. Yeah. They're going to have a really hard time. This is certainly going to buy some time.
These rocks, the fact that he broke those rocks are so key to keeping Trap alive right now. It's going to buy him so much time, as you said, and it may allow him to get a bit of a better position. Those Roaches will funnel down a bit.
All right.
He's just going to break the rocks and maybe move over towards that third base.
5 more cannons added here at the last moment as he realized, okay, this is 100% happening. You can even see that Burrow spike now finish on top of these Roaches, which will, of course, confirm to him that they do have Burrow movement. He already knew, seeing the double Roach Swarm, this is what he was up against. So many cannons here, the Observer on top of this army as well. He's supply blocked, though, so can't make that key Immortal that he wants. And here we go. Force Fields here are just going to buy time.
Looks like he's going to go towards the third base, but there's 4 cannons over there in a really nice position on all of Protoss units. He's going to try to burrow underneath those force fields now and get on top of that Protoss army. But again, more force fields come down. Those cannons are doing a ton of damage. The Photon overcharge on the Nexus as well.
Yep, Roach is over here with some Speedling support, though, at the front of the base. Looks like he's just going to target down the Nexus. At least he does initially here. Now splitting off half of the Roaches to the left side. I don't think this Nexus will go down. He stops targeting, though. Gets very low, down to 140 hit points, but it's not enough. And meanwhile, his left side flank gets totally shut down.
Wow.
And now he's just feebly making more and more Lings. He's down at 63 Harvesters right now. He starts Hydras. He does have range, but this attack is over. And Trap holds with a really solid 3-base economy.
Yeah. Really nice hold from Trap there. You could tell, like you said, he had everything scouted. He knew exactly what was coming. But DeParture also wasn't going all in on the back of this. He did have an infestation pit on the way. He did have that Hydra Den. And he's already going into Hive. So he has a transition point. I would love to see him just take a forward face as well. This map is pretty darn big, so you can get away with it at this point, I think, especially when you put that Protoss on the back foot. But let's see what he decides to do here. He's just going to get that Hive for now. He breaks down the back ice, and he's got a pretty threatening force on the right side of the map as well.
Yeah, Valdez, this really just starts to strike me as a 3-base Viper all-in, and if it doesn't work, it's over. Like, it's a bit risky. Economy-wise, there's nothing to fall back on. I would love to see that 4th base you were talking about, but he's committing every resource he has to rushing this out ASAP. But it's going to take him some time to get those Vipers ready. And all during this while, Trap is nearing maxed out. So many Blink Stalkers, and the sentries at full health with a ton of energy. Look at these force fields go down. This is just pure Speedling versus +2 Blink Stalkers right now.
Yep, those Speedlings are 0-0, I believe, at the moment. And look at that. Every single unit on the right side of the map gets totally force fielded out, and Trap's got a really, really threatening army. We finally see those Vipers come out, but it's just 3. and he doesn't even have the +2 here for his ranged units. This is a really, really threatening Protoss army coming across the map, and I'm not sure if DeParture's going to be able to deal with it.
I'm actually starting to feel like he's really not. Those 3 Vipers, mind you, are not going to come out with enough energy for Blinding Cloud just yet. They're actually going to have to use some Consume, probably on the hatchery that they pop out of, before they can actually be used in the fight. So that's going to buy him even further time to do more damage. He doesn't have a super forward pylon set up just yet. He's got 1 on the way. He's getting +3 and a Dark Shrine, so he definitely has some transition points should this attack fail, but it doesn't look like it's going to fail just considering how powerful it is. Those Vipers still not ready.
More really nice force fields coming down, just 2. He puts down the Time Warp as well. He's just trading for now. No reason to fully commit just yet. More force fields come down. He's got a pretty nice concave down at the bottom of the ramp. Some Blinding Clouds come down, in fact. Looks like Trap is going to have to back off for now.
That was Blinding Clouds, definitely making this a bit of a tougher move, or a tougher kill move, if you will. You know, it's definitely done a decent amount of damage, but hasn't been able to finish the game just yet. Mothership Core virtually out of energy here. Blinding Cloud in the center of all these stalkers is going to force him to move back yet again.
It's a huge Blinding Cloud, but
he's starting to run out of energy, you know, on those Vipers.
At the same time, not really that many sentries left over in this Protoss army, so we're going to see not that many force fields in the next fight here. He's still got a really threatening army, don't get me wrong, but one thing going decently well for DeParture. Another really nice Blinding Cloud coming down.
That Blinding Cloud was exactly where it needed to be, and there's another Abduct on that Immortal, and suddenly DeParture is starting to make this composition work. He's traded very efficiently. Trap has no 4th base. He does have High Templar on the way, but oh no, there's no detection here for these DTs right now. They get split, 1 in the natural, 1 towards the main of DeParture, only just now realizing, and this is going to do a ton of damage, Valdez.
Yeah, it really will. Like you said, no detection. He's going to force a bunch of units back. He's already killed upwards of 10 drones at this point. And DeParture's still on 3 base. He's only now taking that 4th base. He's been on equal economies here with Trap for so long. Trap, in fact, is going to go for his own 4th base at the same time. He's got Storm on the way. I'm loving Trap's position right now.
Trap kills a Hydralisk Den, which is going to be somewhat annoying. That's the main comp he's deciding to roll with right now. We do see High Templar. That's 4 Zealots in that War Prism, but High Templar are on the map, and we do have Storm on the way.
I have to say, I was really, really impressed with the control, the army control of DeParture in that one fight, the one that just happened there in that 3rd base, but the way things are going with this macro right now, his economy is pretty much in shambles. He's got 3 bases kind of saturated at 52 drones, and he's getting that 4th base up here. It's not even complete. We're going to see more harass coming into the main base. I love the fact that Trap's just backing off and going for this. DeParture's had trouble with this in the past.
Trap has so many minerals to dump into Zealot harass as well. That main base is where all the tech is right now. And as you can see, what drones are left here are actually going to be taken out very quickly. These Vipers need to get some really good Blinding Clouds here.
I see the Blinding Cloud. That's a really nice Blinding Cloud. Some pulls there on Immortals too, but here come the Storms.
Storms on Burrow Movement Roach is usually not that strong, actually. But it looks like there might just be too much Protoss here. He does get the Nexus, which is one small victory. The problem is replacing this army is going to be very expensive because he's lost 16 more drones at home. He has nothing to fall back on. He cannot remake this army.
If Trap holds this army off here, which he will, he wins the game. There's nothing back at home for DeParture. He's going to blink on top of everything that was left over, and it will be totally taken out there. Taking out the Nexus actually helped Trap get a better concave in the fight towards the end, in fact.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but it's true.
Yeah.
And at this point, with 25 drones left, make that 24. This is not a good place. Blinking on top of those Vipers is not really a safe choice right now, but he's almost in a position where he could do that. Using this War Prism now to add some Dark Templar. I think he killed all the Overseers. Yeah, he did, actually. There's no Overseers on the map, so these Dark Templar can do whatever they want. Okay, 1 just finished over here. 2, in fact, so he's got 2 more now.
He's just going to blink on top of that, so.
Yeah, I mean, either way, he's just got a large enough army to take this out. GG.
Very nicely played there by Trap. Just very straight up PvZ on that map. It's kind of been what we've been expecting these days. And DeParture, he had a nice idea, but it just didn't really pull through for him. Really nice army control. That's one thing to really give to DeParture. It seems like he definitely is improving, and he's definitely practicing a lot. I mean, you think about where he was last year, where he was like 0-9, something like that. So he's come a long way. Definitely has. But he still goes down here to Trap, and Jin Air's going to go up 1-0.
Yep, they go up 1-0 here, and we saw DeParture do the identical strategy we saw him do versus Hero. strategy many Zergs have found success with recently on this map and on other maps. We saw it on Coda, I believe, was the first time we ever saw it. I think it was a map we did on last time. But it's a strategy that's predictable, and if you see it coming, you just add a ton of extra cannons and you're going to be okay. It's one of those strategies that's super all-in. You even have to add a second Roach War and you get 2 upgrades at the same time. It's hard to add a 4th base right away. And then transitioning to a 4th base seems a bit risky. As the Pross gets Blink, he's got +2, he's got this large Stalker Force. I feel like he should have tried to do that as he was doing some damage at the 3rd base, and he almost killed the next. If he was getting a 4th behind all of that, might have had a transition point into like, more Vipers, a better, more solid economy, maybe even some Infestors in the later on game, but this didn't really work out his way. And basically the scouting from Trap was what saved him there.
Yeah.